Alright, with my coolant leaks done and the oil in the bike, I've got my gas tank hooked up. I can see that the fuel pump is working good. So we'll pull the fuel in. I'm going to put the choke on. I normally use choke to start this bike. And we're going to hit the button and see what happens. I definitely expect it to start. I know the motor turns correctly. So hopefully the starter motor's hooked up right. Yes, that's a good sign. Alright, let's see what we get. Battery's a little weak. Alright, so the battery's a little weak. I might have to put a booster on it. That didn't sound good. Alright, that's with a no choke on. Alright, it wants to go. Alright, so what have I found exactly? I've got the carbs pulled out, and I went through those, and they look okay. I went ahead and reseated all the float bowls just in case. Because it was hard to tell where the leak was coming from exactly. Once I pulled them off, I looked down into these intake valves, and they were just full of gas, a whole bunch of them, especially cylinder 2, cylinder 3. So I drained all that out, got that out of there, but pretty sure the reason it wasn't starting was it was flooding like crazy. I'm thinking something's up with the float levels, or possibly the needle valves that control the fuel flow into the float bowl. And these are kind of easy to check. I just take a clear tube, attach it to the inlet. This is where the gas comes in. And if I blow into this end and tilt these carbs around to open up those valves and close those valves, I can tell if there's leakage or not and how much. And there was actually quite a bit. With all these closed, like right now, if I blow on this thing, I can hear wheezing. So I've taken a couple of these out and looked at the needle valves. And the needle valves themselves, the little tips on them look fine. So all you got to do is poke the little spindle out, pull out the floats. There's my needle valve, and it has that rubber tip. If that rubber tip wears out, that rubber tip plugs a tiny little hole down here in this needle valve seat. But what I've found in these two carbs here is that actually the needle carb seat, which has an O-ring in it, that O-ring is really worn. You pull that set screw off. I'll just dump it in there. And then pull this little needle valve seat. Just pops right out. And then you can see there's a little fuel screen, and then there's that O-ring. Well, on my O-ring, all around the outside edge, there's buildup of crusty stuff. So I'm just cleaning that O-ring off. I don't have replacements, and I don't really want to wait. So I'm cleaning that O-ring as best I can, and then putting it back in. And that's already helped immensely on these first two. So I'll repeat that on these next two. I just pull that O-ring off, hit it with a little Ajax pad, grease it up, and then put it back in. Fuel hooked back up, fuel pump in. Last night I started a little bit, but wasn't running too good. Definitely cylinder number 1 was not firing. I could tell that because it ran for about 30 seconds, and then I would come down and just put my hand on the header pipes to see which ones are hot and which ones are not. And right now, I just fired it again, just very briefly. And 2, 3, and 4 are warm, and 1 is not. So I know that 1 is not firing. This is what it sounds like. There's 2 things that are disturbing me right now. One is that cylinder 1's not igniting. That should be fairly easy to fix. The other is a high-pitched, kind of a screeching sound, which I will need to figure out where that's coming from, and that does not sound good. So listen up. come back down here. Yep, cylinder 1 is not firing at all. So I think I'll diagnose that first, get that working, and then we'll try to locate what that high-pitched squeal is all about. I've got two problems. One is it didn't seem like cylinder 1 was sparking. The other is that sound. But let's take it one at a time. So I have a little, spark plug diagnostic. This is nice. It just gives you a visual, a little light bulb in there telling you if you have spark. And I just kind of have to hold it down on the spark plug because it's not really made for bikes. But let's take a look and see if we're getting spark in cylinder 1. So we are, and if I feel the header pipe, oh yeah, it's hot now. So that's good news. That just means that the only problem I was having with cylinder 1 not running is a connection problem in the boot here. So I need to go through this thing and figure out why this thing's not connecting reliably, but that should be easy. The next problem is going to be the sound that's coming out, that screeching. Alright, I got that cylinder 1 spark plug boot back on, and I'm pretty sure now it's connected right. Let's run it for a little bit and see what we get. I've been listening around for the source of that squeal, and it's starting to actually go away, especially as I get the revs up. See that? Now it's gone. But it definitely seemed to be back in this area. I suspect the water oil pump maybe, because that thing was pretty thrashed. We'll let it cool off here. Well, strange. Intermittent. Maybe the more I run it, the less it'll be pronounced. I'll post this up, see if anybody knows exactly what that is. I think in the meantime, I'm going to proceed. I'll probably put the air box on, and the next thing I wanted to do was sync the carbs. So I think I'll just go ahead and do that. The last thing in the world I'm worrying about right now is breaking in the motor. I just want to get this thing in somewhat decent shape, get that squeak figured out. And about the only thing I can think to do now is just go ahead and proceed. The noise alone is not enough for me to stop, and I'm certainly not going to take the motor out because of that, because I wouldn't even know where to begin to look. So, I would say overall, this is about what I expected. A few little glitches, each one, just tackle them one at a time until everything gets sorted out correctly. So, what the heck? Let's sync the carbs. Alright, more miscellaneous odds and ends. Put the radiator cap back on. Had to get a new one because I couldn't find it. Another hose clamp was loose, so I had some radiator fluid leaking out. That squeak, I've run the motor and put my ear all over the different parts of the engine, and I'm pretty sure that noise is coming down here in my oil water pump, which is the one piece in the motor I felt the least confident about, even though I did rebuild it. It just seemed like the impeller shaft had a lot of resistance. There was quite a bit of wear on the inside cap on the oil side, which I didn't notice till the very end. But I polished things out best I could. Anyway, otherwise the bike seems to be running pretty good at this stage, so fires right off. At the moment, there's only the tiniest bit of squealing coming up from that thing. Very little. little bit of a hanging idle, that could either be just an idle adjustment, or it could be something in the carburetor. Sometimes when an air hose is loose and you get a little too much air in there, you can get a little hanging idle, but that's easy stuff to tweak. Anyway, I run it a little bit, let it cool down, you know, try to fix one or two more things along the way. There's really not much more for me to do at this stage. I need to do the carb sync, but I don't have the right 6mm carb fittings, so I'm going to get a set of those. And probably hook the electrical up in the front of the bike. I'm waiting for some brake components. I have a little bit of bling I just added to the bike. One of these Brembo RCS master cylinders. And I've got some friend Tubo brake lines coming in. I was part of a group buy on the R1 forum. Those will be here in a couple weeks. I'm definitely going to rebuild the brake calipers. I had done this once before. This is where you pull out all the little pistons and replace the seals that are in the brake calipers. So I've got the seals on order. Those are coming in. I'm going to take these, inspect them, polish them, and if there's any problems, I'll replace. These are very expensive though, so I don't really want to replace them if I don't have to. Anyway, a couple weeks to get all that squared away, and in the meantime I'll get the carb sync done. I'll keep running a little bit to see if that squeal goes away. Worst case scenario, if it doesn't go away, what I can do is drop the belly pan with the motor still in the frame. I can get access to the oil water pump from underneath, and I can pull it out, and if need be, replace it. So at least I don't have to pull the motor out of the frame to do that job. Not the easiest job in the world. It'd be nice if I put it up on a bike stand to do something like that. I don't have a bike stand, but anyway, I think at this point I'm going to declare that the engine rebuild is about 99%. I'm pretty stoked, obviously, that it started, and that it seems to be running pretty good. And yeah, finish up the little bits, break the motor in, go ride the thing.